Welcome on this beautiful Friday night. Welcome to Gavin Richard Presents G Boot 2786. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. How are you? We're going to wait for some more people to come in. It is a pleasure to be here with you all on my webcam today live. I usually say we won't be long, but I end up doing a 20 or 30-minute set, and I don't really like to do that. If you Just give me like 1 minute, guys. I'm trying to share this link right now. Hold on a second. I mean, what y'all are doing tonight? Obviously here, chilling on a Friday night like me. I had to work. I didn't go out and do anything like talking about it. I wasn't going to. Let's see. Hold on a second, guys. Yeah.
As the team knocked off the Eagles, advanced to its first ever NFC Championship game. And the most recent meeting came in Philly in the wildcard round on January 4th, 2014. New Orleans won on the last-second field goal by Shane Graham to capture the franchise's first ever road playoff victory. It didn't take long for Vance Joseph to find a new gig after the Broncos fired the former Shaw quarterback just 11 days ago. Joseph lands with the Arizona Cardinals as their new defensive coordinator. Joseph held the DC position in Miami for one season in 2016 before becoming head coach in Denver for the next 2 years. Now joins new head coach Cliff Kingsbury in the deserts. The LSU.
All right. Let's see. I'm still trying to see who we got in the chat room now. Nobody. Oh, it's Friday. It's not surprising. Look, you guys are looking at this. I'm just trying to see if we can get more people to come in. Let's see. Guys, I'm just going to go in. You'll see this video later on. You'll probably comment later on. Say what you have to say. Leave your comments. But a lot has been going on. I've already done the video, obviously, about the R. Kelly situation. I didn't really want to keep going back over that. But this evening, I got disturbed, and I'm going to put this link in the comment section and here in the chat box. I'm also going to put it on in the video description. So when I get a chance, who am I kidding? You guys don't chat anyway, so you guys can click it and get it. But I will talk about this. So I was going on Facebook, and shout out to Nicole from Nicole's View. She had this link posted. And if you don't believe that there is an agenda with this R. Kelly thing, um, with this Bill Cosby, whether it's Bill Cosby, whether it's R. Kelly, Whether it's Todd Bridges, when they tried to, that's how desperate they were. They went at Todd Bridges, uh, you know, whether it's just anybody, Morgan Freeman, anybody now can get it. Chris Brown. And speaking of which, this is an article from USA Today saying R. Kelly may be under fire, but Chris Brown's career is still flourishing. This is by Maeve McDermott from USA Today. She goes on to say that Chris Brown and R. Kelly were both in the news last week for very different reasons. Brown celebrating a new deal with RCA Records, which makes him one of the youngest artists on his master recordings. And just as R. Kelly was coming under fire for claims in a damning documentary series. It's a cycle that R&B fans have seen before with Kelly and Brown, both artists with histories of abuse, both artists periodically making headlines with horrifying stories of their alleged behavior, only to bounce back and continue their successful careers. Considering Brown has spent the past decade racking up a reminder of how things used to be for R. Kelly, an artist who managed to maintain his fan beloved reputation over nearly 3 decades of abuse allegations. Though unlike Brown, Kelly has never been convicted. I don't really want to go further, guys, but you can read from this article basically a hit piece, which is what it is, against Chris Brown and R. Kelly. I knew, and I had my suspicions that once Chris Brown got his master's recording from RCA, uh, and we were actually talking about this in a barbershop last week. They said Chris Brown was going to be the next target. I thought it would honestly be Jay-Z, but he very well could be. Uh, being dragged with R. Kelly by this, I'm just going to call it this racist bitch. I'm not going to hide my anger. This is racism to this racist ass bitch that decided they wanted to make a hit piece at Chris Brown and tie him with R. Kelly. Now, I again do not defend what R. Kelly is being accused of. I don't defend what Chris Brown may or may not have done. I do know about the Rihanna incident, which he already paid for. I do know that he had issues with his ex-girlfriend and so forth. But he's already been tried and convicted on what he's been on that issue. So we always have, it seems, this rehashing of going over people's past over and over again. We obsess over it over and over again. And particular with black men, they do it with everyone, but I think with black men, they're more scrutinized. Well, it's no think, they are more scrutinized because being black in America, it comes with the territory. And on top of that, you got to make the black man the boogeyman. The nigga is always the boogeyman. Now, notice that after it comes in threes, because after this article, well, before this article came out, which it came today, you guys can read more if you want. I couldn't stomach it, but it came out a couple of days ago that HBO is putting a documentary on Michael Jackson called Finding Neverland, documenting two boys, one of whom I know is Wade Robinson. The other gentleman, let me see. I'm just gonna click on the article. This is another article I have here. I'm trying to get his name, guys. Excuse me. Okay, the article is being hemmed up by uh, Dan Reed, Wade Robinson, and James Safechuck. Now, what's interesting about, I don't know who James Safechuck is, but what's interesting about Wade Robinson that I remember was that Wade Robinson gave testimony at Michael Jackson's trial, denying that Michael ever did anything, inappropriate to him. He denied any sexual abuse and sexual assault allegations. No molestation ever took place, that he never gave him wine or drugs, the things that these other boys, two boys, well, one boy, Gavin Arvizo, was accusing Michael of. And Michael was acquitted. And he was acquitted in part because Wade Robinson gave gave testimony to that. So now when Michael dies in 2009, here it is 10 years later. You have a documentary that is about to air. They don't tell you the date, by the way, but I'm guessing the documentary is going to air probably to coincide with Michael Jackson's 10th year anniversary of his death, June 25th. So just think about that for a second. HBO is putting this on, and here Michael has been acquitted. You see, it doesn't matter when you're a black man in America, whether when the law works even in your favor. We can look at examples like OJ. You can look at examples like Michael or R. Kelly, so forth. When you are accused of doing something, especially to a white person, and I know R. Kelly wasn't accused of doing anything to any white girls, otherwise he really would have been dealt with, I think, years in advance. But when you're accused like Michael was, or OJ was, they will go after you. And it doesn't matter what the law says, you are still guilty in the eyes of white supremacy because you messed with one of their own. I never forget, even after OJ was acquitted, and I remember this watching the trial, and most black people, we sat home during the OJ Simpson trial. We paid attention to the facts. Most of the time when other people were listening or getting things from the trial, it was after the trial was over, and news pundits were coming out of the trial so that it could fit their narrative. Geraldo Rivera, Nancy Grace, people like that. To this day, Geraldo Rivera, and you watch him, has always been anti OJ. I remember when he was on Fox News. Remember the part when OJ had his parole hearing? When have you ever seen a parole hearing broadcast in front of live television from 4 different networks? You have political prisoners that don't even get parole hearings. Hearings of sentences, commuting their sentences. Commuting sentences hearings. You don't even get that televised. When Geronimo Pratt was freed, you didn't see that on television. So Hollywood and there is a detailed agenda that they have where they want you and to indoctrinate you and the people into feeling a certain way. Social engineering. They want you to agree with this topic. They want you to feel a certain way, to act a certain way. That's what it's called, television programming. Now, I'm not saying don't turn the television off and ignore it, but you should go in there with a better understanding of what they're trying to do and what's going on. So, yeah, so here Michael has been acquitted, and yet the 2 boys, one of whom gave testimony, is now trying to say he was assaulted, as is this other boy. Then on top of that, now being that Michael was acquitted, most people don't know that the FBI for the last 10 years that Michael was alive. COINTELPRO. They were actually, that's what I call it, but that's what it was back in the 60s when they would spy on the black entertainers, the civil rights groups from SCLC, the Nation of Islam, the Black Panther Party in particular. They had what was called the counterintelligence program. And Michael, was being investigated according to the FBI files that were released under the Freedom of Information Act for nearly 10 years. And they found nothing, nothing that substantiated any of these accusations, these charges of child molestation or child pornography. Remember, when Michael's home was raided, when Neverland was raided, the FBI was even there with him, and feds were with him. Those charges that he had was charged by the state, not by the feds. What were they doing there in the first place? If it wasn't a federal crime, like Dick Gregory would always tell you, if it's not a federal crime, what are the feds doing there? What are the feds doing with Malcolm X's autopsy photos if Malcolm wasn't killed by the government? If he wasn't killed, why do they have it? Put two and two together. They were involved. Same thing with Dr. King. They were involved. JFK, RFK. That's why a lot of this stuff hasn't been released yet. I'm just giving you spitting facts. You can go look this up yourselves. You can look at books. I'm gonna give you receipts. Go read the book "The Assassinations" by a guy named James D. Eugenio. Uh, James D. Eugenio. There's another book you can read back that called "The Act of State" that William Pepper wrote on Dr. King's assassination. Of course, there's been issues with, I've talked to different people like Judge Joe Brown, who has issues with Dr. Pepper's conclusions, but there are also books, codenamed Zorro by Dick Gregory and Mark Lane. Uh, that was actually Dr. King's FBI code name, Zorro. See, I'm giving you guys facts. So to get back to my point, is it not? It's not surprising that I'm seeing these uh, videos, these documentaries now. In just less than a week, they're now, in less than a week, 3 black men are already being lynched in the media. R. Kelly, Chris Brown, and Michael Jackson. Though Michael Jackson has already been lynched, he's been crucified, and uh, for me, a lot of people still think that there was foul play with Michael's death. Same thing with Prince and Sam Cooke, and it all had to do with their masters, their musical recordings. There's a very interesting documentary I saw on Sam Cooke called "Lady You Shot Me," and they really go into depth into Sam Cooke's death. You should look at that documentary if you can find it. I don't believe it's on YouTube or exactly where. Perhaps you can Google it and find it. Excuse me, guys. But Sam Cooke in the 50s and 60s, he was challenging the music industry. He wanted to own his own masters, and not only own his own masters, he wanted to own his publishing. Prince wanted the banks own it. Sam Cooke's music publishing was owned by his manager that he was trying to fire. Michael Jackson said he would never sell a Beatles catalog, and years later, what happened? The state sold the catalog. They even sold his own publishing company. I'm not giving y'all lies. You can go look this up for yourselves. But yeah, Chris Brown is the next one on the menu. He just got his master's recording, and you got this hit piece from USA Today. And I don't even know if people even read USA Today, but this is just straight. This is straight garbage that they would try to put this out. Uh, his dealings with Rihanna. We already knew this stuff. Now remember, about a couple years ago, there was a girl at Chris Brown's house. Gloria Allred tried to sue. I believe she did. I don't know if she was successful, but they threatened to file suit against Chris Brown for a woman that was attacked at his house, even though he wasn't even had nothing to do with it. They even said it wasn't him that did the assault, but they're suing him. See, all of this, Gloria Allred, she's basically an ambulance chaser. Now, I know as attorneys, we're not supposed to, we're supposed to show respect to other attorneys, but honestly, I have no respect for her. I don't know. She's a racist. You know, all of the people that she's gone after have been black people. Just look at her clientele. Look at the men that she's gone after in the last 25 years. The high profile people, maybe with the exception of one, have all been black. Even Tiger Woods was she went after, and Tiger Woods was the victim of an assault. Tiger Woods got attacked. She went after OJ. She went after Michael. Remember, she tried to get Michael's kids from out of his house? And Charles Barkley, probably the only time I agree with Charles Barkley, when he was on that show on CNN, it was called Crossfire. He told her to shut the hell up. We know she's going after Cosby. She tried to go after Tiger when that girl got on there and cried them fake crocodile tears. Her daughter represented that one lady who was trying to say that Usher gave her herpes, or uh, she was scared being with Usher because she didn't know she had it or would have had it by being around him. And even people in the media weren't buying the shit. Excuse my language, but I'm just sick of seeing this every day. Everything in the media right now is not positive. It's all negative. It's all bad. And even the Pope, I think last year or 2 years ago, he hinted, or didn't hint, but he did say how everything now is not positive, and they in media, and how it's to make you feel bad. And when you read stuff like this, it does make you feel bad. When I'm talking about it, I do feel bad. Whoever's on here, shout out, write something, say something. Who's watching? This does make me feel bad when I see, articles like this. When I see docu-series like Surviving R. Kelly and so forth, it's disgusting. You put a documentary on Michael Jackson molesting uh, two boys, and their cases have already been dismissed by the courts. Now, even with them coming forward, Michael is dead, so he can't. Nothing could happen to him. So it's clear you want money. Corey Feldman, for years, even before and after Michael died, stated that Michael never did anything to him. And he spoke adamantly about the real pedophiles that were in Hollywood. But what happened when he did that? He was ostracized. He tries to put a documentary on, and I think he wants money. He needs to do money. But what's happening? Oh, they shut him up. I saw the video that Tariq Nasheed. Let me see if I can pull it up. I don't know if you guys will be able to. Hold on a second. I don't know how I can switch it back and forth, but let me see. We're gonna try and pull this up. I'm giving y'all some homework. Now listen, Barbara Walters reprimanded him while he was on The View a few years ago. So just listen. Here it is. Sorry, I can't show the video.
I'm saying that there are people that were that are still working. They're still out there.
Wait, hold on, guys. I'm sorry. I'm gonna start it over.
I'm saying that there are people that were the people that did this to both me and Corey that are still working. They're still out there, and they're some of the richest, most powerful people in this business.
And they are
and they do not want me saying what I'm saying right now.
Are you saying that they're pedophiles?
Yes.
And that they're still in this business?
Yes.
That's what. Yeah, and that's what you're saying in your book. When you talk to when you talk to
And they don't want
parents,
me here right now. Trust
Corey,
me. They want me dead.
there are a lot of parents out here. What would you say to a parent who just has the best of intentions, who's coming here with their child? If you're saying that there's a lot of predators in this industry.
It's a many-feathered bird, okay? Be careful what you wish for. That's what I'll tell you. You know, don't go into it with naivety. Don't go into it thinking that it's all roses and sunglasses.
You're damaging an entire industry.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to say that it's a very important, serious topic.
You said that there was one gentleman in the industry who did not take advantage of you. He was not a pedophile. You said it was Michael Jackson.
Of all people.
Now, okay. Now, Corey defended Michael. There's actually another clip. Hold on. Spoke out. I'm seeing different things, but he even said he spoke out against Michael Jackson. Now, at one point, he did say that he had his doubts about Michael, but when he was questioned by the police beforehand, he, and even after, and even to this day, he stated that Michael never did anything to him.
Sugar, corn syrup, aspartame, red number 40?
That's the commercial, guys.
Person. It doesn't even come across a conversation with him.
All right, so I want everyone to listen carefully to.
He's not a sexual person. It doesn't even come across a conversation with him.
All right, so I want everyone to listen carefully to what Corey told them during their investigation of Michael Jackson. This is your words from 25 years ago.
Believe me, the person who molested me, if this was him, you know, that did that to me, then this would be a different story, because I would be out there up front, you know, doing something immediately to have this man given the what was due to him.
I'll be clear with everybody. Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department has confirmed they found the 1993 tapes. They have not confirmed if Corey's copies of them are the same ones, but we are confident that they are.
There's only one interview.
Only one interview. So Corey's in 1993 telling the Santa Barbara detectives that it's not Michael Jackson. It's actually someone else, and you know it's not Michael Jackson because you know what
this is on Dr. Oz's show,
You've lived
guys,
it.
too.
Well, it was several people. I was molested by a couple guys.
But there's one person in particular that they bring up on these tapes, and his
that's
name,
crazy.
it is John Grissom, who is one of your abusers. Take a listen.
But the information that we got was that John, is it Grissom, who was your assistant, and that when Michael started paying a lot of attention to you and you started spending time with Michael, that he got angry and jealous, basically, because you were hanging out with Michael and not with him. Do I hit a source for
it? First of all, I knew Michael long before I knew John Grissom. And John Grissom was the guy who molested me. So I don't know where he got the facts from, but I mean, they're kind of messed up. But John Grissom, you know, was the guy who molested me, and I'm sure he probably was jealous of how much I respected Michael and how much I hung around Michael. And if in fact he may have thought anything was going on with Michael, I could imagine how a sick person like that would think, and would think that, you know.
How old were you when that happened?
15. And
you're not to, we're not asking you to tell us about
right. No, I mean, I'm just, no, I mean.
What more needs to be said? But there's one thing I must quickly say, that I was incorrect. It was 15 the first time he molested me. But this went on for a year and a half. I just want to state that really quickly.
Okay. So.
To more than 1,000.
Okay, so what you guys heard, you know, this is what. Okay, so what you guys heard basically was this was Corey Feldman giving his testimony, his statements about what happened with he and Michael, how Michael never did anything with him. And he named his accuser, a man named John Grissom. I don't know who he is. He said it was his assistant. But, you know, this guy, that guy he was dealing with was never prosecuted. But neither here nor there. Here is someone who actually denied any wrongdoing. Here's a man who was there. He talks about the abuse in Hollywood. And I'm pretty sure people that run Hollywood, you've been in there, you all know. Well, if you haven't been in there, but you do know that the people that are in Hollywood are not black people. But yet, blacks are made the scapegoats and the fall guys practically to everything. Whether you're talking about abuse, domestic abuse, rape, sexual assault, anything, murder, robbing, we're always the bad guy. I just want to say in closing, I want to close with something positive. And honestly, I can't think of too much, but just that we really need prayer. And we can really need unification. We know what the problem is, but sometimes we don't know, often, not sometimes, what the solution to the problems are. You know, how do we combat things like this when they slander our brothers and sisters without evidence? When they just want to continue with lies and lies over and over again about someone just to sell papers and ruin their reputation. Again, I'm not there in these guys' private lives. I don't know R. Kelly or Michael Jackson any more than I knew Woody Allen or Harvey Weinstein. I don't know them. You know, would I trust any stranger to watch my kid just because they were a celebrity like Michael or R. Kelly? Hell no. Although I don't compare R. Kelly and Michael Jackson, I think their circumstances and the facts of their cases are different. But both were acquitted. Let's just be real. And just like OJ, but yet we keep hearing that lie repeated over and over again. And finally, after 25 years, when black people were ardent defenders, mainly because not that we cared about OJ, but we actually saw the evidence in the case, but because we were browbeaten, especially after that civil trial in 97, we all went along with everything. Yeah, he did it. He must have. So how do we combat this and what's positive? We do it right here. We need to create the new, I've talked about this before, but the new media, the new television. We need to support, put our monies together into something that has value. And that's and that is, maybe buying a new network, buying a network where we can have a black news anchor, have black news anchors, and they can tell news from our perspective. At one point, we did have that when we had BT. But what happened with BT? Bob Johnson sells it, and BT is no longer black owned. It's marketed towards blacks, but it doesn't have. It certainly is not positive. You know, there's some things, yeah, some of their movies that are great, but they're marketed towards blacks. But black people don't make the decisions. Black people, and therefore, if you don't make the decisions, and we have things, issues that we want to talk about, we don't want to be curtailed because someone who looks like us and doesn't talk, who doesn't look like us, excuse me, is making those final decisions. Let's create a new network. I'm down with it. What will we need? What will we need to do? How much money it would take to make a network? Let's start looking at those things. Where can we set up a station? Can we do a network that starts online, possibly? Or can we develop an app? I've seen apps with different networks now that have come out. Now on Roku television, on Amazon and Apple. Maybe that might be the stepping stone we need. Look at how much it costs to develop this stuff. I want to do something positive. Everything is just negative, 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 and I'm so tired of seeing stuff like this. I'm so tired of seeing it. You know, let Michael Jackson rest in peace. That goes for everybody else. And nobody in here, even myself, is absolved from making mistakes. Like I told Nicole when I was on her show radio program this past Sunday, the Bible is written by murderers. You read Psalms. Psalms was written by King David. What did King David do? You read the Bible. He set up Uriah to be killed so he could marry Bathsheba to hide his affair and her pregnancy, and took her as his wife. The first pope, Peter, he denied Christ 3 times. St. Paul, the apostle, the most popular saint in the Gentile world, killed thousands of Christians, but he was sorry for what he did. Now, I don't compare those men, those saints and people in the Bible to the celebrities that we have. But the point I'm making, and you all understand, is that everybody makes mistakes. But the question is, do we learn from them? Does it mean you go unpunished? No. But at the same time, is it fair to go back in someone's past for everybody? Because if we're just doing this for one person, if we're just doing this for Michael Jackson, but we don't do it for Woody Allen. We just go after Bill Cosby, but we don't go after the Jeffrey Tobin and Les Moonves and Harvey Weinstein. He can get his charges dismissed, but Bill Cosby can't get his dismissed. Now, of course, there are different circumstances, but Bill Cosby had evidence to show that he wasn't even in town when this woman was making up the dates, saying that she was there, and he had proof, and they introduced flight records. They didn't consider the testimony of the prosecutor who agreed not to prosecute Bill Cosby in the first place and took money from, and this new DA decided to run his campaign on getting Bill Cosby. They didn't consider all of that. They just said, we don't care. We want to make an example out of you. This judge, and that's what this judge did. And many black people, we sat by and we allowed it because you were mad that Bill Cosby told you to pull your pants up and do right by your children. He wasn't wrong when he was saying that. Now, I've been critical of Bill Cosby in the past. Yeah. There's some things I do. I think he could have said things better than what he did or handled things better. Yeah. Like trying to cancel Martin's show or Def Comedy Jam. I think if he had spoken with those brothers one-on-one, maybe, instead of going publicly and condemning them, probably might be a little different. But he's an elder. And when you get at that age and you seeing things like he saw, being in Hollywood, being on I Spy, where they weren't allowing even white stuntmen to be on I Spy when it was Bill Cosby's character, how they would put blackface on and an afro, and Bill Cosby would be irate at the producers of I Spy, telling them, hey, this is not what you do. This is unacceptable. You get some black stuntmen to do my stunts. We needed somebody like that. Somebody had to break the mold. And he tried to buy NBC in the 90s. They didn't like that. Just like Michael, when he bought the Beatles catalog, he bought Elvis's catalog. Then he merged a few years later Sony and the Sony ATV Music Publishing, and he owned half of that, owned half of Sony. He even tells you that. You can find it online here. We got to be owners. That's where the danger lies with you when you want to own stuff. So it's not a shock that Chris Brown, to me, is about to be the next one taken down on something. And I'm pretty sure Gloria Allred is licking her chops now because she just tried to sue him once. And I'm pretty sure there's another girl that's going to come out and say he did something. It's coming. Now that this article is out. Mark my words. USA Today, you're a disgrace. But I'm going to end this. I'm not going to give you no more energy. I'm going to end this positive. We're going to look into, I want everybody on there that's watching me, I want you to look into how much it may look into new networks, real estate, things that we could use in our community, things that you could use with your family that you can keep money and, we can invest in it and do something positive. That's what I'm going to end it on today. And I want everybody to enjoy the rest of their weekend. You all be safe and be blessed, be careful. This is a dangerous time, but trouble don't last always. I believe that. It may not seem that way at first, but it gets better at the end. And that's what I want to be optimistic for us, and we got a ways to go, but we're going to make it. We just got to keep pushing. I'm out, guys. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this night. Give me some rest. Be blessed. Love y'all. If y'all want to leave a comment, please leave comments. I just ask you all to please be respectful. That's it. God bless, guys.